It's powerful to think about what the culture around 2CB and MDMA might be like in 1,000 years. So next up, we have another experimental person. We have Gül Dölen, who is a Turkish-American neuroscientist and professor at UC Berkeley with adjunct roles at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. She is also a seed crystal steward of the Shulgin Farm. Gül.
Hello, everybody. Okay, I am going to tell a story back in 2005 when I met Sasha and Ann. And this happened at MIT, where I did my PhD. And at the time, they had just opened up this new building. And it was bringing together all of the neuroscientists on campus under one roof. It was a really big deal. They invited neuroscientists from all over the world to be at the event. And then as the special guests, as the speakers, they invited about 8 or so Nobel laureates. And I won't tell you their names because I'm going to say something that might embarrass them. So they all, these are very famous scientists who discovered everything from the molecular structure of DNA to, RNA rearrangements to, the basics of the immune system, how it gets encoded by the genome. And they each got up there and they said some really ludicrous things about the brain. They knew nothing about the brain. They were, mostly molecular biologists. But, once you win the Nobel Prize, you think that you can speak on and on about anything. And then Sasha got up there, and he was about the same age as everybody else. And he was really the only lucid speaker amongst the group. And he got up there and he started describing some of the molecules that he had worked on, some of the molecules he had created. And he, described, moving a methyl group here to over here, and then I added a side chain. And then he described the effects on consciousness that these chemical manipulations had. And I can't really convey it to you, but to a room full of neuroscientists, this was like magic, right? Because here was somebody explaining, here's a molecule, and you put it in your mouth, or you ingest it in some other way, and it changes, it alters consciousness. And for a neuroscientist, this is actually the gold standard of being able to get at the big questions of neuroscience. My lab, we focus on the little questions. There's a famous professor at Harvard who says the bigger the question, the smaller the answer. The smaller the question, the bigger the answer. And I've kind of kept my career around that motto for a long time. But here was Sasha giving us an opportunity to ask the big questions and get the big answers. And this was, I think, really, really inspiring to so many neuroscientists. At that time, psychedelics were still very much not considered serious science. It was, background work. But, the number of neuroscientists I know who became neuroscientists because they took psychedelics and because they had this experience of a chemical altering their consciousness, I maybe it's selection bias, but it's somewhere in the 80 to 90% in my experience. And so I just wanted to share that story because Sasha, I later met him again at the farm now that I've moved back to the Bay Area. And Sasha's work really continues to influence the way that I think about the brain and really fosters the hope that we're going to get at those big questions with big answers. So that's it. Thank you.